Wrestling with our inner fight in the spotlight every night. Voices shout and bodies clash. In this world, emotions crash.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Wrestling with Emotions podcast. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome back again. Today is going to be possibly a quick one. We're going to go through and preview the Elimination Chamber PLE for WWE that takes place tonight live in Toronto. If you haven't been keeping up, this will be the last pay-per-view or PLE, whatever, before WrestleMania. So right now, as we stand going into tonight, really only 2 matches are 100% set and advertised for WrestleMania. And those are basically the 2 winners from the Royal Rumble last month. Charlotte Flair and Jey Uso have already picked their opponents. Charlotte will challenge Tiffany Stratton and Jey Uso will challenge Gunther. So tonight we head into what will hopefully set the stage for what is to come with the rest of the card. So last night was a pretty decent SmackDown. I know there's been a lot of mixed feedback recently with how quality the shows have been. I think, last week with the last second edition of adding The Rock into the mix, things were kind of odd, jumbled, and it just felt clunky. But I think last night was really tight. 3 hours, it went by relatively quickly. I did pass on a couple of different matches. I'll talk about that briefly, but really today is going to be talking about the Elimination Chamber. We're going to go through the entire card. I'm going to give my predictions as well. And then some outside the box takes, I think, to kind of set the stage for maybe some returns tonight. But let's just jump in because I know there's a lot to kind of get through here. So overall, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. Of course, you'll have both the men's and women's Elimination Chamber matches. I'll save those a little bit for last. We'll have the Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn unsanctioned match. We have Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus teaming up to go against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. And then, of course, the subject of the last several SmackDowns is Cody Rhodes will answer The Rock. Will he provide and give up his soul to The Rock? Ugh, ridiculous. Okay, so let's start with some of the let's start with the singles and the tag team match first, because I think they're less consequential overall to the big picture of WrestleMania. So let's start off with the low-hanging fruit. I am actually looking forward to this match. You'll come to find out in future episodes. I am a big Trish Stratus fan. Met her a couple of times at different signings. Very nice, and excited to see her get one last run in her hometown. And we always say one last run, but who knows how much more she'll appear. Hopefully she'll continue, and then we'll get some more figures out of it too. But her and Tiffany are teaming up against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Honestly, I think it's just a service match for Trish to get involved, and it gives Tiffany a chance to kind of get on a pay-per-view. Again, she was left out of the Royal Rumble last month. She's super over, obviously, and then with Trish teaming up, I think it'll be good. I think, and hopefully close the story rather on the Nia Jax Candice LeRae piece, because it's honestly a snooze fest. It's gonna be probably tough to watch, but I think what it'll end up doing, I don't see it ending clean for sure. I think there'll be some type of disqualification. Maybe, I'm sure Charlotte will come down to ringside. Maybe she'll be on commentary, or maybe she'll just be near the desk. I think she will factor into this in some form or fashion, but I don't think it'll be a clean end, but hopefully it will end this feud. So ultimately, I do see Tiffany and Trish walking away with the win. It would be hard to see them not going over in Trish's hometown. And like I said, hopefully they kind of put an end to this little feud here, and then we'll see what happens next. So that's match one out of the way. We'll get that was the easy one, I think. The next one I'm really looking forward to, and I didn't think I would be, but the history and I think the recent promo work from both of these guys, especially Sami Zayn, because to me, and I haven't followed his career religiously, but it's a little bit more of a serious take. So he will face Kevin Owens in what they're calling an unsanctioned match. If you watched the Royal Rumble last month, there was a really strong match between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. A lot of, really tough physical spots in that match involving the ladder. In fact, I mean, the last push or the last bomb through the last power bomb through the ladder on the outside of the ring looked incredibly dangerous. And obviously they sold the physicality of that, but it looked rugged. So to imagine what this is going to be, I think it's going to be even more elevated. But the story coming out of that match was a little convoluted. I was not super excited. Basically, Kevin Owens' motivation was he didn't think Sami helped him out in that match. I mean, against Cody. But you look at the replays, you watch the video, like he is completely dedicated to his friend in that match. No signs, and then you can see like the animosity on his face towards Cody in that match as well. So the way they spun this up so quickly to kind of get this match into where we are now is a little sloppy, but the promo work between then and now has been awesome. I think the seriousness that they've taken this, the physicality that I think this match actually will command, I think it's going to be awesome. And, they've been friends and rivals for literally over 20 years. So they've worked together on numerous occasions, both inside WWE and outside. So they have a really strong relationship and chemistry. So this is going to be a really great match. And I think it'll be a really solid table setter for the final two matches. Now, I think you can't lead off with this match, even though it is unsanctioned. I think it is going to be a really strong match. But if you start off with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and I do think Sami Zayn goes over in this match, I don't see how it benefits Kevin to win this match at all. It does nothing for him. In fact, I think it's in his best interest from a character standpoint to probably lose. I think it sets him on a path of, it reminds me of kind of like the Hangman situation over in AEW, where things have gotten so extreme on the other side that this will maybe set him on a path of redemption and, of course, another face turn at some particular point down the line. But this does more for Sami, I think, going over. I think he's been kind of like the pushover guy. Yeah, he's won the tag titles and some other lower level belts, but I think this is an opportunity to kind of thrust him into another level that he obviously deserves. So that'll be exciting to see. So I don't think we start off with this match because I think it's going to be, from a fan perspective, pretty exhausting. I think we kick off with Tiffany and Trish, the tag match. That'll lead into Kevin and Sami, and then I think we'll go next into the Women's Elimination Chamber. So this is where I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some odd predictions. So right now, the Elimination Chamber match, you have all these women have qualified in singles competition prior to this. So we have Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. Right out the gate, I can say I don't think Roxanne nor Bayley will win. They're feuding through their relationship with NXT. That's kind of been brought up and called up onto the main roster. I think that'll be kind of a wash. Bayley, of course, was the winner of last year's Royal Rumble on the women's side, headlined WrestleMania, won the title. I don't see her going back into that spotlight again this year to face Rhea Ripley. I think maybe her and Roxanne do a different program on the side still, maybe not WrestleMania, but I think that feud kind of takes care of itself. My winner for this match is going to be Liv Morgan, unless my prediction or my wild take is, if you've been following, the connection between Liv Morgan, Bianca, and Naomi is Naomi and Bianca believe that, or the story says, that they're the ones who attacked Jade Cargill, knocked her out of action. She's been out for several months now. They're not owning it. They're not denying it. Her, Liv, Morgan, and Raquel, They're not, excuse me, they're not denying it. They're not owning it. So that means that they obviously didn't do it. So my thing is, it's probably going to be an inside job. It was either Bianca or Naomi. And I think Jade will somehow have something to do with one or either of those ladies not being involved in the chamber match at all. Most likely Naomi, or actually most likely Bianca, to set up a feud for them at WrestleMania. And I think Becky Lynch will return to take over the final spot in tonight's chamber match, which it's the only way that I can see. I mean, obviously they can bring her back on Monday Night Raw, but where is she? If she doesn't get into the mix in the next couple of weeks to build something to WrestleMania, then she has to come back the night after WrestleMania, because it would be just a weak, slow story, slow burn for her to get back on TV and try to put something together that makes sense and is going to build somebody to care about what feud she's going into next. Now, Alexa Bliss, she was on SmackDown last night. She interfered, or at the end of the tag match, they teased obviously the Wyatt Six angle. She was obviously a little bit darker last night too, so I mean they're going with that direction. And God, I don't understand. I don't understand the appeal of the Wyatt Six stuff. Maybe it's because I'm an adult now, which is obviously a contradiction. We are talking about professional wrestling in a serious way. But I don't get the supernatural angles as an adult. It doesn't appeal to me. And I know that it's partially for the kids. They sell the masks, they sell the horror aspect, the mystique, all that kind of fun stuff. And if I was a kid, I would probably like it, because I remember, being a kid, and the Undertaker stuff at that particular time really got me going. And then I remember Papa Shango and the Ultimate Warrior, and that supernatural angle where the Warrior's like bleeding blue liquid or whatever from his forehead. So I get the appeal there, but as an adult, I'm just like, let's move on. I think we can do more things with her character than just a derivative of Bray Wyatt. And I know it's a tribute and everything to that character, and kind of staying faithful to maybe some of the plans that he had long term for the group and things like that. But to me, it's washed. I think it's time to move on. So that's where I think, Liv Morgan is probably the best choice to come out of this. Like I said, unless Becky enters the chamber in some form or fashion. If Becky enters, I've got Becky winning. If nothing changes and this is clean, then I think Liv is going to WrestleMania again to face Rhea Ripley in probably maybe a final showdown there. Then that's, of course, assuming on Monday after that the match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky to determine who's going to WrestleMania as a women's champion, nothing changes there. I don't foresee them swapping the belts on that show, because an Io versus Liv or whomever at WrestleMania doesn't really make any sense. So that is that match. And then the most exciting match, or the one I'm looking forward to the most, is the men's Elimination Chamber match. As they mentioned last night, it's the most star-studded pairing that we've seen from the longest time, maybe ever. I mean, there are a couple of questions in the match as to who cares kind of stuff. I mean, I can't. I mean, for the life of me, I could not give a shit about Logan Paul. Let's stop for a second and talk about that segment last night on SmackDown. You've got Drew coming out of the crowd, cutting a crushing promo on John Cena, going low blow as well on his damn hair and his bald spot. And then, of course, Damian comes out, Seth comes out, Punk comes out and just ruins everybody in the ring, which I thought was awesome. One of his best promos in a long time. He just obliterated every single person and was obviously the standout there. And then Logan Paul came out, clearly memorized some type of script, because he couldn't ad-lib as CM Punk is like roasting him as he's talking. He couldn't move on and like change direction. So in this match, this is a real toss-up too. Obviously, you have John Cena, who basically just inserted himself into the match. Did not have to qualify, so he's in there. So he got a lot of heat, and they talked a lot about that. Obviously, the build-up to this. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. Of this crew, to me, it really comes down to who was going to win between Cena and Punk. Now, if you read the chatter online, and I really hope it's not true, there's the potential build-up for a CM Punk versus Logan Paul match at WrestleMania. Please don't do this. Do not do this. There's the chatter that it could be John Cena versus CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So that would mean there would have to be some type of screwy finish to this match, or the favor that Punk had at War Games, he finally gets to cash in, and he joins the main event, and they have a three-way dance for the title there. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways that they can go with this. I mean, the outside of this match, you still have Cody Rhodes, as I mentioned, and his connection with The Rock, the Sell Your Soul. They did several little backstage segments last night where different people were giving advice to him, Cody Rhodes, about what they would do, what he should do. And one of the more interesting ones, obviously, was CM Punk talking about how Cody should take it. He should take the deal, which was interesting. But could CM Punk end up taking the deal? Could John Cena finally turn heel in his final run with the company? He's basically turned into everything that he destroyed The Rock on over 10 years ago, about being a part-timer, Hollywood guy, inserting himself into the matches. So it would be a nice full circle, fun way to kind of give his last run. And even if he does turn heel for a couple of matches on the way back, I think, his final match, he'll be over completely. And I think people will probably be even more bought in with his little heel run if he has one. But it's tough to say. I don't think they'll blow him out of the water with a full heel run at this particular point in his career. But I do see him probably coming away with this match, because what is the alternative? If John doesn't win, who's he going to face? Logan Paul? That would be another snoozer too. Get Logan Paul out of this. He's a mid-card guy. He should not be in the spotlight. I don't care how many followers he's got on fucking Instagram or YouTube or whatever. It's not, no one cares. Yes, the frustrating part is that he actually does pretty decent in the ring. But if you caught Kenny Omega's comments a couple months back, yes, he does look great in the ring. Glad you think that. He has tons of time to rehearse these matches. It's not like he's wrestling every night. It's not like he's wrestling multiple programs. It's not like he's on the road with these guys wrestling. So let's take a little bit of a break there. And then finally, we've got just a little bit of extra drama. We talked about The Rock and Cody Rhodes last night. If you watched SmackDown, the show went off the air with boring, "This is boring" chants from the crowd and from my room as well. Cody Rhodes comes out to the ring. Michael Cole is in the ring, giving his 2 cents. Cody barely gets any words out, and then The Rock pops up on the screen, getting on his private jet to head out to Toronto. And what do they pull out from backstage but a special Ford Raptor for Cody, decked out in the American Nightmare logos. He goes to the car. Rock gives another speech that doesn't mean anything and doesn't say anything, has no consequence. That's the thing about this fucking angle, is that there has to be terms, right? Okay, sell your soul, become his champion, or what? What is the alternative? You have not set up any stakes. There's only implied problems. So from a fan standpoint, you're kind of bought in to see what happens. Excuse me. Because you can tell, obviously, Cody's a little conflicted. But hopefully something smart happens tonight, because it's like shit or get off the pot time. We don't need all this ambiguity. Is Rock involved or not? And speaking of outside storylines, where do we go from here? If say he sells his soul, what does that mean? What does that even mean? It's so frustrating because it doesn't mean anything because they haven't defined what it means. All they've done is obviously implied it means private jets, access, inside access. I mean, this is all authority shit from, 7 years ago, 8 years ago when Vince was running the shit. It's just old, boring stuff. Give us something new. And if he comes in again and disrupts the plans, and believe me, I'm a Rock guy. I was when I was a kid. But it gets a little bit frustrating when you're on a certain path and then like you think you know what's going on and then they completely derail it. But I will trust the process because I know there was a lot of obviously frustrations coming out of last year. They righted the wrongs and it ended up being pretty great. So there's always the chance that that'll happen as well. And then, we talked about returns. Two names that stay out there besides the one that I mentioned already with Becky Lynch on the women's side is where is Randy Orton and where is Roman Reigns and where do they fit into the plans for WrestleMania? More so even Roman Reigns. I know he's popped up a little bit more on social media and done some different interviews recently. So I think he's close, he's ready, and I think maybe he has some type of impact tonight, or maybe he shows up tomorrow night, or I'm sorry, Monday night on Raw. But it's up in the air as to like what his piece is going to be. But I think obviously he'll be. So I could see him being in some form or fashion involved in that chamber match as well. Maybe eliminating or being the cause of Seth Rollins getting eliminated. Maybe distracting Drew as well. Maybe their paths converge that way, because I know one of the builds and one of the frustrations coming out of the Royal Rumble for Drew McIntyre was that the way he was eliminated was rushed and didn't really set the stage for a feud that was supposed to happen between him and Damian Priest. So that's kind of why Damian Priest is in this match. They really should have taken that and ran with it the other direction. Excuse me, for a feud with him and LA Knight. I think that would have been the more exciting option, because now you've got the advertised backstage heat. LA Knight cuts a promo in the match that they have on Monday, the following Monday after, making jokes about getting his stuff in, or maybe it's on SmackDown, but getting his stuff in. So you have the tie-in there. It would have been fun, and I think it would have been a little bit more exciting than whatever program you're going to try to push Damian Priest into. And then I think, again, Seth Rollins just kind of becomes an afterthought in this. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be exciting. And again, another little bit of an earlier start again, which is pretty nice, because the East Coast, you get hit with these later starts, and I don't want to sound old, but sometimes this stuff ends like 11:30, 12 o'clock. But tonight starts at 7 o'clock, live from Toronto. It's going to be a fun one. Like I said, it's not like, excuse me, damn, last month where we had I talked about the tag team match in between the two Rumbles and the Cody match. That just felt like filler. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view match. I mean, I think the Tiffany Trish match is probably as close to that as you can get, but I'm excited for that even still. I think it's great that they're in there, and I think it's great that they're involved, and I do look forward to that, and I'm interested to see what sets up from there. I think it'll look great. I know where it is in Toronto, it's going to be a really large venue. It's going to be exciting, and I think hopefully they have a few surprises in store to kind of get us heading into WrestleMania, because there's a little bit of a buzz. Obviously, if you've been looking at some of the online stuff around the booking recently, outside of your main storylines, it's been a little bit of flat. And then I think there's been a lot of criticism as well about maybe like the main story with Cody too. Like, what's going on here? Is it time for him to drop the belt and push somebody new? So we'll see. That's all coming up tonight, and then we may do a show tomorrow to kind of recap the results. But I do want to definitely get involved and talk about, what's coming up with AEW Revolution. That I love these months where I love the weeks in the month where you have everything kind of coming up back to back. And what I'll probably end up doing tonight too is I usually will have like the iPad going, so I'll watch Collision to see what's happening, because I know Kenny Omega is going to show up tonight. Right now, AEW Revolution is going to take place next Saturday, or is it Sunday? No, next Sunday night. In LA, you have 4 matches currently on the books, ready to go. 5 actually. That includes Jon Moxley versus oh god, I hate saying this. Cope, the rated R superstar Cope. It's Edge. WWE, give him his name. Good lord. Jon Moxley versus Edge. That's going to be a good one. I think they have to move the belt. They have to. I'll talk about that in a second with the second match as well. Then you have Takeshita versus Kenny Omega for the AEW International Championship. I'm very much looking forward to that. You've got Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher for the steel cage match, and then Hangman Adam Page takes on MJF, and then Toni Storm versus Mariah May. I know I talked a little bit about this last week, but I'll just kind of graze over at least the 2 championship situations here. I think AEW has done a great job, number one, of their booking recently. Every show feels like a really good show. Where in the past, I think I talked about this last week, there's a lot of filler on some of the B programming, I guess you could say, but I think they've really done a really good job of building up both brands to make storylines flow between both programs, keeping people interested, engaged, and looking forward to what's next. They've also done a really great job as a company, I think, of promoting their newer talent or their less known mainstream people into championship positions. That's where you have like Takeshita as your international champion. Obviously, he wrestled overseas. He wrestled in New Japan. A lot of these guys are New Japan guys, so they are worldwide names. But from a local or from a United States standpoint, I think every once in a while you've got to, yes, you have to push your younger talent, but every once in a while you've got to put your belt on a top guy that's going to sell pay-per-views, that's going to sell tickets. And that means to me, like, and not to say Jon Moxley's not a top guy, but the shtick is it's redundant at this particular point. You got to put the belt on Edge. You got to put the belt on Kenny Omega. If any of those 2 things happen, it's got to be Kenny Omega taking on that title to finally put a nail in the coffin for that Don Callis storyline. Do the Young Bucks come back at Revolution? They just dropped the titles in their first defense, so in New Japan. So we'll see a lot to come there. We'll probably do a deeper dive preview, and that'll probably take a little bit longer and I love it. They stack their cards with multiple matches, so it'll be a big night. They have pre-show matches as well as, the main program. So that'll be an interesting one that I'm looking forward to. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you are interested in seeing tonight, what your predictions are. You can find us as well on YouTube. We are at Wrestling with Emotions. You could find the podcast. It's up on video, but really there's no true video yet. I'm still working on the studio aspect, but I'm excited to bring that to you guys as soon as possible. I have a little bit of a remodel situation that I'm going to do to kind of get my backdrop set up and everything. So you guys also kind of get a sense of, what I collect and what I'm interested in as well. So we'll get that set up, but you can find us there. We're on Spotify. I'm working on the iTunes piece. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll get that going too. But I do appreciate those who have checked it out on YouTube. I put a poll up as well for a future episode, what you would want to hear about. I think one was me reviewing a previous pay-per-view of one of my choice, or the other would just simply be to talk about how I got into wrestling altogether. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, a little bit of a quicker episode to set the stage for tonight. Again, I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. I look forward to hearing your predictions in the comments. And then, like I said, either we'll circle back tomorrow and walk through the results, especially if something wild happens. Otherwise, we'll wait till next Saturday. We'll put a pin in it when we talk about Revolution. So everybody have a great weekend, a nice night, and enjoy the show. Take care.
throw down. Heartbeats racing, can't slow down. Feel the tension, feel the heat. Emotions hitting on repeat. Wrestling win with our inner fight. In the spotlight every night. Voices shout and bodies clash. In this world emotions crash. Tangled up in thoughts we spin. In the chaos we begin. Finding strength that's deep inside. Facing fears we cannot hide. Wrestling win with our inner fight. In the spotlight every night. Voices shout and bodies clash. In this world emotions crash. Every grapple, every hold tells a story to be told. Raw and real and full of fire. Pushing through the darkest mire. Wrestling with our inner fight. In the spotlight every